to the world. Subscribe now to the Hot 97 YouTube channel. It's Ebro in the Morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg.
Ras Baraka, ladies and gentlemen. He is the mayor of Newark. Good morning, Mayor. It's me, it's Laura Stiles, the whole team here. We wanted to get you on because we're reading the news about you the abolishment of, or excuse me, not abolishment, but the kind of reallocation of resources in the Newark Police Department. And we would love to hear from you on how this is actually going to work.
Absolutely. You know, we've been doing this already. Like the police department, for every 25 police officers, we hire a social worker. We've been doing that for the last couple of years. You know, to put them in the Shining Rocket Violence or Domestic Violence Center. We've been doing Hope One vans where the police use their resources to go around and treat folks that are addicted to drugs, that are homeless on the street. So trying to use the police budget in more creative and alternative ways, Newark Community Street Team. So now all we did is codify that, put it into law, create an office where all of those services will be functioning out of, and use a percentage of the police budget in perpetuity. So if I'm no longer here, they still have to do it because it's the law, or they have to change the law to create this office where all of those services will be running out of, and it'll give people more resources as opposed to them trying to find grants and other kind of dollars. And they still can do that, but they'll at least have money to be able to function.
Now, how's it been working? Since you've been doing it for a few years, you know, here in New York City, there's people right now outside City Hall, and they're not leaving until they have some answers on what the mayor here and the NYPD. I know they disbanded the crimes unit here, and they're trying to do some different things. But what has worked in Newark? Where have you seen the most results?
Well, see, I think Newark is under consent decree. You know, when I first walked in the door, they had finished suing the city after 10 years of investigation or something. And
who had finished suing? Who sued?
The local ACLU, other community organizations sued the city's police department, and won. And so we became, under the Obama administration, the consent decree. When I won, I had to sign that, and we basically embraced it. So we never had any a negative relationship. So it wasn't really, all over the place. We just got to work. We established this Civilian Complaint Review Board, which is in Supreme Court, state Supreme Court now, being argued against with the FOP. We've changed all these policies that people are arguing about. Use of force policy has changed. De-escalation. We extended training. All that stuff has already happened, and I think it's working because every time we change or write a policy, we have to take it to the community. We have a community meeting about the policy. They agree or disagree. We change things, and all the police officers have to be trained in the new policy. Obviously, it costs the city a plethora of dollars to do all of this, but this is what we've been doing. Besides other things that I think has been incredibly helpful, all the alternative police strategies, community-based initiatives from Newark Community Street Team, Newark Street Academy, Westboro Violence Reduction Initiative, Brick City Peace Collective. All of those things work in concert with the police department to help us kind of reduce violence and crime in the neighborhood, but also creates a better relationship with the police. We do trauma circles with the police. Like, they got to come out and talk to the community. We have these circles that are sponsored by Equal Justice USA, and they basically, talk to the police and community about issues they have with one another, real straightforward, kind of real conversations. And all that stuff has had like a real kind of steady impact on how police and community view each other.
Mayor, tell us specifically about the closing of the Newark Police Division 1 precinct.
Yeah, I mean, that's the precinct where the Newark Rebellion began in 1967. What's interesting is in 1967, a taxi driver by the name of John Smith was beat and taken in that precinct. It was a notorious precinct. And, people thought he died, and that sparked the rebellion for 4 days. 26 people got killed during the Newark Rebellion. The city burned. We're still recovering from it. During the George Floyd protests, protesters went back in front of that precinct. The only different thing is that the city didn't burn this time. But that precinct has a history of negativity for us. I mean, not saying that now and all kind of crazy stuff happened out of there, but just the historical.
The building itself represents pain.
Exactly. And so we just wanted to remove the police officers from there. We turned it into our Office of Violence Prevention to put all our services under there. And we also converted it into a museum to chronicle all of the local political activism that took place in the city, highlighting all of the things that were done in the community. And that's what we're going to do there. And so we had the press conference in front of that building.
Now, is this you? I got a quote here. It says, and I want you to give some context to it. It says, Ras Baraka, the mayor of New Jersey's largest city, labeled ongoing efforts to defund or abolish police departments a bourgeoisie liberal solution for addressing systematic problems that extend far beyond city police departments. Quote,
part of it, we had a discussion, and they were trying to make a distinction between defund and abolish, right? And basically, I think people do that on purpose. The media and other folks. Some people generally don't understand, and then some people are just using that to create divisiveness. But defund or disinvestment from police agencies to support social and political kind of organizations that help make the community better is something that we should be doing. It's something we've been doing. And the abolishing of the police force, to me, when I said it's a kind of bourgeois liberal, or folks who are not coming from our community, who come up with these ideas to lead and guide us that we run around and embrace, don't take into consideration the issues that we face every single day in these communities. Like, for example, who's going to respond to the 104 murders that took place on Father's Day in Chicago? 104 shootings and 14 murders. Like the same thing in the city with shots fired, armed robbery. My mother said, my sister was killed by domestic violence. My mother said, I wish a police officer was present when my sister was being killed, right? So we have to deal with that dichotomy, and our community is going to have to address that. And we have to hold people accountable, because there's some reasons why violence and crime take place in our neighborhoods, in our community, and there are larger issues, not just the police department. So racism and white supremacy and inequity that wasn't born and raised in the police department, right? Most, if not all, institutions in the United States are wrought with these kind of illnesses, and we need to address them all. We can't just stop at the police department and say, oh, let's abolish the police. All our answers, all the solutions to our problems will be given. And I think that's a very myopic view, and it's there to undermine our larger efforts.
Well, and I also think there's a fundamental flaw when you have grassroots organizations that are considerably more liberal, progressive, and activism related, coming up with titles for things and naming things, and then the media and politicians want to critique the way they title something because it doesn't, it's not as nuanced as the people may like it or politicians may like it. And that's really the politician's job to take what the activists are saying and put it in context for the rest of the people to digest it. That's not the activist's job to come up with framing and titles and things like that. You know what I mean? And I think that's another thing that has kind of irritated me during this defund the police conversation is you have activists saying defund the police, and then you have people going, well, what does that mean? And we don't understand what you're saying. They're activists.
They know what it means.
Exactly.
I think people know what it means. I think they know it. They're trying to make it something that it's not, to create this issue, right? This whole defund, abolish. Everybody knows exactly what it means. It may be a few people who are confused, but I think the people who've created this argument know exactly what people are saying when they say defund the police.
Would you say that right now, today, inside the Newark Police Department, would you say there is white supremacist activity and racism acting inside the Newark Police Department?
Absolutely. I think our department is, first of all, a million times better. 70% or more now Black and brown. We've hired local. We made our police department look just like the community. We have over 200 women in our department now. It's a different department than when I was a kid. Let me put it that way. But then not only the police department, but the fire department, right? We have fire officials now. We just suspended a fire official 2 days ago because, now everybody focuses on the police. And I hear people even say, oh, the fire department doesn't do that, which is not true. We just suspended a fire officer for saying he tired of this black stuff, right? This is what happens in these agencies. And every institution, like I said, have this kind of stuff in it. So yeah, absolutely.
And it's indicative of the greater society, as you pointed out. No institution in America is immune from the ills of the society itself. It's not possible.
Not at all. And all of them. I just hate, and Jesse Jackson said something powerful. I was on a forum with him, and he said that, we didn't march and people didn't get killed and shot just to have a nicer and gentler police force, or all this stuff didn't happen just so we could, talk about we don't want police. There are a huge number of issues that we need and we're fighting for that extend beyond just having a police department that's nice to us, right? We need all kinds of things. There's a huge wealth gap. There's disparities in health and housing and poverty and all these other kind of issues that need to be addressed. And we can't have a full stop halt at police.
Well, and I just want to say as we conclude, and thank you for your time. Right now, let's not lose focus, because police on a national level being held accountable for killing unarmed people
is real
with chokeholds, and specifically black people. That needs to be addressed, and those police officers need to be arrested and held accountable. That's what this is specifically about, right? And even more specific is police understanding that they are not above the law, and police unions understanding that you cannot continue to impede progress and think that everything is going to remain the same. Right? So we got to keep drilling that home, because even right now in this city, you got Commissioner Shea in New York City talking about, we're not going to keep people safe because of bail reform, man, stop taking your eye off the ball, bro.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, bail reform might be a problem, and there may need to be some adjustments there. But fam, are you one of your officers just choked somebody out, was arrested a few days later, and just walked out on no bail.
Right.
And how fast is that guy? And that guy has a series of complaints already.
Right.
And we're just now repealing 58. Don't try to do the 3-card Monty, you know what I mean? And that's the other thing that makes people pissed off is we know CompStat and quotas and racism and all of this broken windows policing and quality of life policing, where you guys come in and abuse teenagers for just being teenagers.
Right. But the issue is it's two systems of justice for everybody else, and it's been justice for them. And that's what I think people are incredibly upset about. Like, these people have been getting away with these things for decades, centuries even, and everybody else has to be dealt with in terms of the full extent of the law. There's a whole system that protects violence against black and brown people in this country. You can be violent, you can murder us, you can shoot us, you can beat us, and there's no justice for that. Everybody can walk away, whether you're a cop or not, right?
That's right.
You could, Ahmaud Arbery could be jogging, get shot in the back with a shotgun, and get protected by the state, get protected by the police, and in turn, police can beat and kill and shoot us, and nothing happens to them as well. So that is specifically what the dichotomy is and needs to be addressed.
Right. Yeah, man, we can't lose focus. That's Ras Baraka. He put out an album recently, too. Y'all didn't know Ras Baraka was the teacher on the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill album. So in the little, the skits in between, a lot of people forget that you were an actual teacher at that time, right?
Yeah, I was an actual teacher, yep.
And you went on to become principal?
I later on became the principal, of a couple of schools, and then got into this thing.
You put out an album in 2019. It was called What We Want. It was an EP that you dropped back then. It was 5 joints. And you shout to my team Wonder Music. And did you drop something new?
Yeah, we just put a video out, and then we did like a remix of the What We Want thing for the ESPYs. They asked me to do What We Want, and so we did like a little remix for them.
All right, so is this just track 1 on the project? Shout out to my sister Andrea Martin, who's all over this. But yeah, it's poetry from Ras Baraka. Let's get that What We Want on. My man. Now do you catch backlash for putting out music? People come for you?
I mean, not really. I mean, you get a couple of folks, but for the most part, you know, people knew I was a writer and a poet before this, so they didn't expect me to just stop writing because you know, I became the mayor. So most folks and most artists like that, so they cool with it.